Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, episode 73. In this episode, you're going to hear all manner of tech, talking, and reflecting, even some fly fishing. Talking about that, I listened to a podcast that I've listened to before, so it's the Fly Fishing 97 podcast, and a special treat for you at the end of this episode in the Friday segment. Stay tuned, and here we go.
I'm Josh Swartz.
And I'm William Illingworth.
Hosts of the High Tech Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now.
Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others.
Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to exercise by walking about my neighborhood to take in podcast content, then reflect in an unedited video, which I finally post to my Twitter channel. This podcast will be a regular collection of the audio from these selfie videos. You can follow me on Twitter at FreshAirAt5 or check out my website, briancarpenter.com, for other content I have created and collected. Hey PLN, happy Monday, May 16th, 2022. Significant day in this proud dad's life is that my boy turns 19 today, age of the majority in British Columbia, and I'm proud of him. He's an apprentice electrician and graduated last year, heading into second year school for apprentice electrician and training, and I just wanted to say I'm happy and proud of my son, who is already off to work. I get him up at 4:30, he gets up at 4:30, and I get up with him, head out here, and he heads off to work. So yes, it's my boy's birthday, and so happy birthday, Brock. Okay, as we're moving along, what happened this weekend? Went fishing, got to go up country towards Kamloops, British Columbia, fished 3 lakes, skunked on 2, and yesterday we got into some beautiful fish on another lake, and we were using little bugs. Take a look at this bug right here on my hat, right there. It's called a chironomid, and there's a part of biology called entomology that studies insects, and I am all about aquatic insect life, just from a perspective of how can I tie and make a bug hook looking that a fish is going to eat in its normal everyday environment. We got into some really nice fish. It was fantastic to do, and I got to take a friend of mine, colleague that I work with at my school, and we got to go up, and he said he learned a lot of things from me, and he appreciated my patience and my passion for what I do. So that's another area that I do spend time working with people and teaching. And I worked with my friend Todd. He was on the podcast as a guest on, I think it was Good Friday. So you go back to that, you can hear his voice. Yes. Okay, so I guess this segment is turning out to be all about me and what happened this weekend and about my son. So yes, I'm going to jump into one more thing. So coming up, FAAF. I hijacked it. I'll get to you guys in just 1 second. Peace. One more thing for May 16, 2022. Okay, so I'm thinking about how this one more thing works, and it's not that it's an extra thing, it's another thing that I have to say that's important. And earlier, just listen to what my weekend was about and my boy's birthday. And that was, I would almost call, not the main thing. It was just another thing. But it got there first on the podcast, so that's why you're hearing it. All right, my one more thing for today has to do with episode 111 of the FAAF show. And FAAF, you guys rock it. I like it so very much. You guys inspire. You guys have your book, The Magnificent Microphone. The teachers go buy on Amazon because it's good. I know it's good, and it's making an impact already, and it's only been 3 weeks or 4 weeks since it came out. So that's awesome. You guys talked about that. You talked about how you keynoted in Saskatoon at a conference, education conference, IT conference in Saskatoon on May 2nd, and your rich experience from that, and how presenting provides a rich experience for expression about who we are. And we can only speak about who we are, not about who other people are, because we can't live their experience. I appreciate hearing that. Fantastic. I got a connection to Saskatoon only in the fact that I've got family that's there, and my grandparents were there, so I went there when I was younger quite a bit. Rest on episode 111. You talked to Dwayne Morgan, who is a spoken word artist and has a connection with Che, so go take a listen to that. And I appreciate how Dwayne brought his personality and himself, and how he said he didn't know his path until he was in high school and beyond, and as an adult, that he discovered who he was. And because of his prescribed tendency and direction as an immigrant young person, he had to fit a certain role, and he did not. Coming back yet, and one more thing, just hang on. One more thing for May 16, 2022, as I'm still reflecting on episode 111 of the FAAF show. Yes, they talk with Dwayne Morgan, and who is a spoken word artist. And Dwayne, I like how you talked about yourself and knowing yourself and figuring yourself out, and how you can make an impact on somebody as an artist, as a musician, a spoken word poet, and you don't have the opportunity beyond a moment to make a difference, like when you're doing a workshop for schools and things like that, but how you just hope there's one thing that they take away. As an educator, I hope that there is more than one thing that they take away, but yes, at the end of the day, that they take away something from their interactions with me as a teacher. Like looking back, do we remember the tedium and the academics of the past, or do we remember and see the music and the art? Those are the kinds of things that we remember. So I'm just trusting and hoping that I am making a difference so that I can affect someone's possible creativity. I speak of creativity as my way of doing art through digital media and doing things well, and not perfectly, but well, so that we can make a difference beyond the canvas. I said on an interview with Kelly Croy recently, you can find that pinned to the top of my Twitter page, talked about how can the creativity or the creative work that you do live beyond the canvas and make an impact in the world. And so I'm hoping that the skills that I'm teaching my students can go beyond the canvas, beyond the Chrome browser screen where we do creative work, and can live beyond. All right, I've got that. So that's all I'm going to say. Thanks, FAAF and Dwayne, for you're making a difference in the world. And teachers, go take a listen to episode 111. You will be inspired of the FAAF show. So go take a listen to episode 111, the FAAF show. Gotta go. Bye. Hey, PLN, happy May 17, 2022. This morning, it's a beautiful, cloud-covered, 7 degrees Celsius morning here, and it's mid-May, and it's supposed to be warmer. And we are just, wow, the weather is just nuts, and climate change is going on, and it's making things crazy where I live, from everything we had last year with heat domes and flooding and all kinds of things like that. We're still feeling the impact of these things on our agriculture, on the highways and roads. Whenever I go out fishing, I drive through the carnage of bridges that were washed out during the flood back in November. And that's not even the flooding in the local valley, just behind me there in the Fraser Valley in the Sumas Flats. So climate change is real. It is something crazy. And can we control it by now not driving our cars as much? I don't know. Okay, these are big questions. But yes, thankful for it not raining right now, and enjoying my morning walk. This morning I listened to the Partial Credit podcast episode number 94, as Donnie, Jeff, and Jesse had on guest Lee Perez, who is the Nebraska Teacher of the Year. And Lee, congratulations on that. That is an honor to be recognized for what you do by the state of Nebraska, and that you have the opportunity to speak into people's lives about important things in education. Like you guys talked on here about teacher salaries. You talked about your area of expertise, which is English language learner, and how language acquisition happens. And my eyes were opened, actually, because until you stop and think about it and hear someone talk about it, you go, oh, how hard can it actually be? But you know what? It can be really, really hard. And change is hard. Change is hard on all of us. And Lee, you expressed that change as well. Change is coming to Carpenter's World here. So we change our technology in our district and in a couple fronts. So hang on, I'll be right back. One more thing for May 17, 2022. Continuing my thoughts about episode 94 of the Partial Credit Podcast with Jesse, Donnie, and Jeff as they talk with Lee Perez. And Lee was talking about his experience as an English language teacher and how he needs to work with students in their space and time to grow their understanding of the expected language that they're supposed to learn. And, how do we do that in such a multilingual space and do it well? And the dual track program compared to the don't send your kids to, like a language immersion program when they're young because of perceived fears and all those kinds of things. My anecdotal from outside, because I haven't done it, is that, kids that go through, I don't have the data. The kids that go through our French immersion program here, don't or do, they're equal to the level of the kids that don't go through our French immersion program as far as where they're going. I don't have hard data for that, but that's my observation, that it makes a difference for those that are doing it, but for those that are not, are they losing out on opportunities? I'm not 100% certain because, I don't know. So that's just me speaking out of my ignorance. And that's what we need to get over, is we need to get over our ignorance. And I'm now a little less ignorant about English language acquisition after I listened to Lee talk than I was before. All right, Donnie, on the scale of uselessness about voiceremover.org, I'm going to take a look at it. I heard Jen Giffen talk about it. And the problem is I don't have any MP3s that I own that have music to try this out with. So maybe I got to, record a song and become a musician so I can have that. All right, we'll talk to you guys. Have a fabulous day. And I am not in Nebraska. That is for certain, because there's hills here. Oh my goodness, I might have even said that. I think there's hills in Nebraska, but do they have them like this, where they go up and up and up and down and down and down for days? Not sure. Okay, have a great day. Bye. Hey, PLN, Wednesday, May 18, 2022. Fresh air at 5. Didn't happen this morning. It was pouring rain and I was tired, so I stayed home and stayed in bed. So this afternoon, we were expecting 20 or 30 millimeters of rain today, a whole lot of rain, and it didn't happen. So thankfully it didn't happen. I'm out detailing my truck right now because we're going on a trip, cleaning that. And while I'm doing that, I'm listening to the Fly Fishing 97 podcast. The episode number I'm not sure of, but I listened to it and it was fantastic. I listened to the episode with Del Barber, who is a Canadian musician, singer-songwriter, and he talked about his passion for fly fishing with Mark Hopley, who's the host, and it was fantastic. You talk about passion for doing something. You guys should take a listen to this. If you're even not a fly fisher, but just listening to someone talk about what they're passionate about. Educators, we are passionate about what we do, and it's kind of like fly fishing, how it's something that's hard to explain, but we do it and it's fantastic. So there you go. All right, so take a listen to that I'll put the episode number in the tweet here, as well as in the show notes for episode 73 of the Fresh Air at 5 podcast. All right, good night. Thanks, Dale Barber and Mark Hopley. Peace out. Bye. Hey, PLN, Thursday, May 19, 2022. Well, we're sitting on the verge of a long weekend coming here in Canada. Tomorrow is a professional development day, and I will be attending a Pro D up in Whistler, British Columbia, north of Vancouver, part of the MyPETA executive, helping organize that event and learning while I'm doing so, and I'm excited about that. Then I'm rushing back here to go fishing for the weekend up north of Kamloops, British Columbia. So lots of driving going on, but it's going to be fantastic. Change of pace, because the pace at school has been frantic, as we are in the midst of two different large transitions. We're transitioning from Google to Microsoft, and we are transitioning from our learning platform, Moodle, to D2L Brightspace. So looking forward to the transition as I drive around the province this weekend and do some different activities. All right, speaking of different activities, I heard a fantastic conversation on Science 360 with Tim Stevenson, and he had on guests Holly Stewart and Becky Schnechter out of the States, and they talked about science at their levels. And Becky, she teaches grade 8 science, and Holly teaches middle school or grade 5 or elementary school science, and works with students, calls them explorers, and believes in them that they can discover things. I think that's the biggest thing that we need to do, is we have to have faith in our students that they are learners. And what does it mean to be a learner? It means that we have the opportunity to learn and grow and explore the world around us. Is it hard for teachers to do? Sometimes, but we need to dig into being learners ourselves, because if we don't, then our classrooms will suffer. All right, Becky and Holly. Holly, I've got a background in chemistry, similar kind of path, but then we had a hostile board takeover and I changed to this. So thanks, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a fabulous day. Bye. One more thing for May 19, 2022. I just listened to episode 55 of Science 360 with Tim Stevenson, as he had on guests Holly Stewart and Becky Schnechter about, as they were talking science education. Super fantastic. You need to go take a listen to that if you are an educator, because it talks about passion and desire to make a difference, and not just in science, but in general. And how do we approach our conversations with our students to grow them to be a little bit beyond where they are. Today I'm walking in a media design class, and I'm going to present them with some opportunities to learn something a little bit new, not significantly new, but how can they use the tools that they've got to design and create something that's unique for them and personal. All right, super great. Like I was saying, Holly, I have a background in chemistry, and I have my master's of science in chemistry, and I worked in industry, and then had the opportunity when our company shut down after a hostile board takeover and selling it off to step into education, and looking back, it has been absolutely fantastic. So that's a cool connection that I've got with you, and super awesome, Becky, to hear about your National Geographic expeditions and just the opportunities that you have to learn beyond your classroom, and how you can bring that learning back to your kids so that they can continue to learn and grow and see the relevance of these almost sometimes mundane things, but there is a place for them in the world. We just have to show students where it is. Okay, that's my one more thing, and super fantastic to hear, Tim, you have a one more thing, as you talked about having a meeting for more than 40 minutes on Zoom, but you could do that with a podcast. So that's the great thing about this podcast experience, is we can have a long conversation with someone over Zoom, but then when it ends, we just stop it, and then we start it up again and continue the conversation. So yes, talk to you guys later. Have a fabulous day. Bye.
Hey PLN, this is Tim Stevenson for Fresh Air at 5. It's Friday, May 20th, 2022, and we are in Whistler, and it is fantastic, as our friend Brian Carpenter would say. And today I have with me a guest, Brian Carpenter.
Hey everybody, how are you? My phone's been hijacked. Tim grabbed it and said, we're going to go for a walk and we're going to do something different. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So what's going on, Tim?
Yeah, so we're going to interview Brian Carpenter today on Fresh Air at 5. Brian, where are we headed? Down here?
We're going this
Straight
way.
ahead. So, Brian, first question of the day today is, in the light of stresses of the teaching profession, what do you advise teachers to do to stay fresh and to stay, happy to be in the position that they're in?
There's a lot of pressure to do things sometimes that you don't want to do because of administrative pressures. We're in one of those pressures right now in my district as we're changing from Google to Microsoft. And how do you cope with that? Well, you got to have people around you that you can talk to in your building, people that you can vent with and share with. And, I'm not up in arms about this, but it's not a great decision in my perspective. So I just said that on air. But what do? I got to keep going for walks in the morning. This is really, really important. It's 5:15 in the morning. We're here at Whistler for Pro D. We could sleep in, but Tim and I got up to go for a walk because it's so really important. Having people around you that you can talk to, and you know what? Being joyful about your job. Don't forget why you started being an educator. That's really, really critical. Who are you there for? Are you there for the paycheck? Are you there for administration? Or are you there for the kids that you get to spend time with every day? During COVID, I had to wear a mask in the classroom. Told them, it's because of you guys that I'm here wearing a mask. Do I want to? No, but it's part of how we cope and get through this. So, what do you think, Tim?
I think it's a great attitude, and that's often what it comes down to. Like my wife always says, attitude is everything. You can control your attitude. And so that's what you're doing, and you're getting out and getting some exercise. Staying well physically, mentally is good for you. All right.
All right.
That's good stuff.
We'll talk to you soon.
One more thing for May 20th, 2022 here in beautiful Whistler. Look at this place we are. This is just gorgeous. And we're walking along here, and we're talking about attention and whether or not cell phones in the students' hands is a positive thing or a negative thing, and why kids just can't pay attention anymore and their dependency. So, Brian, what are your suggestions and thoughts on the digital world? You're a pretty techie guy.
Yep. So coming out of digital citizenship, this is an area of actual training that we're supposed to do with our students, talking about how they use their devices and about screen time and managing themselves outside of what's in this cell phone and the screen time features that are there, talking about how many hours I'm scrolling and doing. That's informative, but that should not be how we solve this problem by having Apple and Android tell us these things, because they've got a product they want us to use and they want us to feel guilty, like Tim just said, that we feel guilty about using these things. And it's not about that. It's about managing our space and our time. It's time management. And so some suggestions, and this is how I operate, and I have my family do this as well. We got no cell phones in our bedrooms. When we go to bed, cell phones are out in the main room. They're plugged in away from us. I got my Apple Watch that sits beside me. Notifications are always off at night so that it's not going ding, ding, ding through the night. And I put it away because it's important that we don't get notified in the night. Even through the day, I keep my notification switch in the off position so that it doesn't buzz every time something happens, or the quiet mode, and so that while I'm teaching, it's not going off. There are moments through the day that I need to be notified of something, like my kid's pediatrician is calling, and I need to talk to them because they don't call very often. But when they call, you got to talk to them. So managing these things, I think headphones out of kids' heads in the classroom, if they've got their cell phones, that's important because that talks about attention and what you're doing and how you're focusing. Make sure they have their phones away in the classroom. I use their phones in the classroom a lot in my digital space, so those are just a few ideas. All right, Tim.
Tech's not going anywhere. We got to manage it.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. And the last thing for Friday, May 20th, 2022, coming to you from Whistler, Fresh Air at 5. I'm standing in as the host because my guest today is Brian Carpenter.
Hey.
And we wanted to finish this segment with a question around what's the what are the memories you're going to take from the school year? We're coming close to the end of the year. And what are the positive things you're always going to remember? Because I want to focus on the positive things. There's been some great things happening. Let's focus on what's been good. So, Brian, what are those great moments this year that you're always going to remember?
All right, so my school is a different kind of school. We're an online school. We got a blended learning program, and so students are only in our building 2 days a week that we see them. And during those times, we do digital media, we do technology, robotics, all that kind of stuff with them. But one thing that's going to stand out for me this year is how we did a collaborative glow gallery that my friend Jen Esau, she spearheaded, and we got the black lights and the kids all the way from kindergarten to grade 12 that come into our building. We've got Wednesdays as well with K to 2s and 3 to 5s and 6 to 8s. They all did art. We blacked out a portable. We had a gallery of art and all this artwork that they had done, fluorescent paper and all this stuff. It was super great. It was a big collaborative thing we did before Christmas, and families came, and it was a big, awesome thing. Another highlight of this year is just that we've got our yearbook for the very first time at my school. And we've been in operation, my school, for about 15 or 16 years. And we haven't even had class, like school photos, big group school photos, because of the disconnectedness of our different places and people. And so this year we took a school photo again, a 2-day school photo, a compilation on our playground. So we took Wednesday, half the playground, Thursday, the other half of the playground, and then we blended them together with Photoshop Magic, which is using technology to make a compilation, which was great. And our yearbook, first time we've had a yearbook, and my grade 11s and 12s really worked hard with me on figuring out this project-based learning problem of how do you publish a yearbook. They arrived this week. Fantastic. Fired up.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We got some good stuff going on over at the school in Abbotsford with Brian Carpenter. All right, everybody, that's Fresh Air 5 today. Bye-bye.
Good. Stop. As my one word for 2021 is appreciate, I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific podcast episodes in the show notes for your learning convenience. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoy this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can also be found on Voice Ed Radio. Your voice is right here, and on the Education Podcast Network, Podcasts for Educators, Podcasts by Educators. I hope you have a fantastic day and get some fresh air before the day is out, and take care of yourself because you're worth it.